I'm Megan Skidmore. For 2.5 years, I have been talking about evolving faith journeys. I started to tire of the heaviness of this focus. I had the clear message come through. It is time for Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast to evolve into Living Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast. With the same vulnerability and unapologetic authenticity, I will be focusing on the joy in this journey, the life and the living that comes on the other side of maybe, on the other side of what's possible. I want to talk about claiming spiritual sovereignty and becoming your own captain of your vessel. Let's celebrate releasing what no longer aligns for you and connecting with your higher power and honor expanding your energy field to make room for all things new.
So yeah, I'm Karin, and I was raised in the Mormon church, the LDS church, grew up in Provo, Utah. You know, got married at 19, like most good Mormon girls do, right? Maybe not most, but there's a lot of us who get married young, right? And so got married at 19. Had a couple kids in there, and about 20 years into that marriage, found myself going through a divorce. About 15 years prior to, about 7 years prior to the divorce, I decided it was time to leave the church. And I'm a divorce coach now. This is going to be circular, I think, in my storytelling.
That's fine.
Because there's so many things that
whatever comes up. I get it. Our journeys are not linear. We'd like to think that they are, but they are not.
They are not.
So just let it flow.
So hopefully it will make sense to your audience. But yeah, so I'm married at 19, and I wouldn't say that it was the most terrible marriage, but it also wasn't the best marriage. We had a lot of problems and, things that we were dealing with. And about 10 years into the marriage, my husband at the time decided he was going to leave the church. And for me, being completely raised, in the church and believing it wholeheartedly, that was a big blow to me because I didn't know what to do with that.
For sure.
And I had never really questioned the church. It was just, that's what you did. That's the way I was raised. That's what I was told to believe, right? And so that was a difficult thing for me to deal with. And
understandably,
our marriage was also rocky through a lot of this. And again, it was just one of those things where, but we're Mormon and we don't get divorced. It's not something that happens, Yes, there are definitely people in the Mormon church who get divorced, but they're few and far between, and you probably don't really talk that much about it.
And I don't know what your experience has been. There's probably some shame tied to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what your experience has been, but
yeah, absolutely. And so, with him leaving the church and deciding not to continue in that faith, I wanted to keep going to church with our 2 kids. And for a little while, he was okay with that. And then he wasn't okay with that. And that, again, was a big blow to me because I was like, what are you talking about? I need our kids to be raised in the church. Like, this is how we do things.
Right.
And, so there was a lot of struggle between, what does this mean for me? What do I actually believe? Am I going to be, I don't know if punished is the right word, but what is going to happen to me in the future if I continue in the church, but I don't, have a strong marriage? Because, in the Mormon faith, I don't know how much your audience knows about religions in general, but in the Mormon faith, marriage is for time and all eternity. It's not just until death do us part. And so what does this mean for me and my eternal future? And there was a lot of turmoil happening inside of me in terms of, do I choose God or do I choose my marriage? do I choose my children's eternal lives? Do I choose my eternal life? Like, what does it all mean? Right.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of struggle and back and forth for myself and in my marriage of trying to decide what to do, and trying to figure out who I am and amidst all of this. A few years later, an incident at church happened, and I was kind of told I shouldn't question anything that the general authorities were doing. And it was almost like that was my wake up call of, okay, if I'm going to be told who to question and how to live my life from this end, then I will be done with this church. I can't continue to struggle and be like 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
So that was after you were single, newly single?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Oh man, that was like such a circular thing. I probably should have like told this whole story before I said that we got divorced, but we're still married at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still married at this point. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is, this helps me answer one of my questions. Do I choose God or do I choose my marriage? Well, I'm choosing my marriage over God at this point. I'm going to be done with the church. And
okay.
So I decided I was done with the church. And that at that point became a big journey for me of understanding and unwinding so much of my life from this faith that had been a very prominent part of my life. And it was difficult. It was difficult to figure out who I was without my faith. It was difficult to understand what it meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then what my relationship was at that point as well.
So do you mind if I pause you just for a minute?
Of course. Sure.
I can't imagine what it must have felt like to be in that position of feeling like you had to choose between two things that were very, very meaningful to you. We'll call it the church, your faith, your community, at the time, versus your marriage.
Yeah.
Someone who, when you had shared children together, someone you had probably thought you would spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah.
Especially based on the beliefs you had been taught and adopted, we could say, up to that point in your life.
Absolutely.
Can you speak to that? That's a really almost soul-splitting place to be in. It's I can only relate in so much as I felt like I was in that position when I learned of my child's identity in the queer community.
Yeah.
And I felt ripped apart internally. Like, how does somebody move forward from this place?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
And all these emotions to process. Cognitive dissonance was my constant companion.
Yes. Yeah. For me, it's interesting because at that point in my life, I don't think that I was very in tune with me.
Okay.
With my emotions, with a really deep connection to my intuition and my even like my integrity outside of what I had been told integrity means, right? Being raised in the church, they kind of teach you this is what integrity is. And I do agree with a lot of that, what that definition is, but I didn't really have my own definition of what integrity is for me and what my intuition was telling me. And so I think for me, what should have been a lot of grief over the loss of, this faith that I had had my whole entire life and what that entailed, I think I just glossed over it and glazed over it and was like, it's fine. It'll be fine. My family still loves me. I do have a really amazing, extended family. My parents are very open and welcoming, and I'm lucky in that way. I think not everyone has that. Of course, they were, I think, disappointed that I wasn't going to church any longer and that I, didn't accept the faith any longer, but they still accepted me. And so that was amazing. And I had a really good community, which is I think in the church, that's a big deal, you know. Again,
It is.
Members of the LDS community can be very open and accepting, and they can also not be very open and accepting. So I was lucky again in that way to have the friends who I had already made and the neighbors that I already made and lived around. They still accepted me and loved me. And so I think for me, I just kind of like brushed it to the side and thought it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I went through my divorce about 7 years later. So when all of that grief combined with the grief of my marriage ending, a 20-year marriage, it all came to a head. So for me, they were kind of tied together, I think.
When I hear you say you were not in tune with you said, I wasn't really in tune with me.
Yeah.
I kind of glossed over it and told myself everything was going to be fine. Correct me if I'm wrong. When I hear you say that, I hear, I didn't see me. I didn't see my inner, I know your religious, your faith, spiritual beliefs have evolved, so I could be way off, so please correct me. I genuinely want to know and understand your journey, but it feels like you just truly, you were kind of blind to who you were on the inside because of a lifetime up to that point of identifying with things outside of you, using external definitions of roles, of talents, of gifts, of strengths, and whatnot that were kind of handed to you versus you actively, purposefully choosing those.
Yeah.
Every first Friday of the month, I offer a free coaching hour. Anyone is welcome to join, and you may leave your camera off and change your name if you would like to remain anonymous. This is an opportunity to get introduced to my style of holistic coaching and gain real skills, insight relevant to you, and fresh perspective on life circumstances. For those attending, there will be opportunities for a complimentary one-off energy alignment session. Register at the link in the show notes.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You really did. That's absolutely what was happening for me. Even when I was so...
I'm Megan Skidmore. For
devout
2.5 years,
in my faith
I have
and
been
going to
talking
church
about
every Sunday
evolving
and,
faith journeys.
praying every
I started
night
to
and doing
tire
all
of the
the things
heaviness
that
of
you're
this focus.
supposed
I
to
had the
do
clear
as
message
a
come
full
through.
member
It is
of
time
this
for
church.
Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast to evolve into
I
living
didn't
Beyond the
ever
Shadow of
take
Doubt
the time
podcast.
to
With the same vulnerability
actually
and
find
unapologetic
out for myself.
authenticity, I
Is
will be
this
focusing
true?
on
Do
the
I
joy in
actually
this
believe
journey,
this?
the
Ask
life
those
and the
questions
living
that
that comes on the other side of maybe,
probably everyone
on
should
the
ask
other
for
side of
themselves.
what's
What does this
possible.
mean for
I want to
me?
talk
Who am
about
I?
claiming
And
spiritual
so,
sovereignty
yes, I
and
had been
becoming
handed
your
on
own
a platter.
captain of
This
your
is your
vessel.
role
Let's celebrate
as
releasing
a
what no
woman
longer
in
aligns
this
for you
world,
and connecting with your higher
as a
power
young girl
and
even in
honor
this world. This is
expanding
your
your
role. This is
energy
what you're
field
up
to make
do.
room for all things
This is what
new.
you'll do in your family. You'll get married and have kids and raise those kids and be a good example to them and all of those things. And so, yeah, I didn't know myself. I had in many ways abandoned myself without even realizing that that's what was going on for me. And going back to this, the divorce, I was the one who asked for the divorce. And when I had been going back and forth on, do I want a divorce? Do I not want a divorce? And it was a question that I just kept like spinning around in my head. I could not make a decision one way or the other.
How long would you say that went on? that spinning, you call it.
I mean, it had been a long time during the marriage, but the real spin of really wanting to know one way or another was probably a couple of months. I would say maybe 3 to 4 months. And it was conversations that I was having with my husband at the time too. It wasn't just me struggling with this. Like we were both in the same place of where do we go from here?
Yeah.
But I was tired of the spinning and
It takes energy.
I was spending a lot of time outside in nature during this time by myself, going on walks every single day. And again, wasn't in the place where I really knew much about my emotions, knew much about how to connect to myself, I didn't know anything about the nervous system or, any of the things that we as coaches know. We have these, skills and tools, and I didn't have any of that stuff. But I would go on walks, and I was on a walk one day, and I just said, "What do you want, Karin? Like, what do you want?" And I want you to just answer, and I don't want you to take into account what it might do to the kids or what Eric, my husband at the time, will think, or what your family will think of you. I just want to know what you want in this moment. And the answer was immediate. It was, I want a divorce. And I felt immediate peace just wash over my whole body. And I attribute that moment to maybe the first time in, I don't know if ever, but in a very, very, very long time, that my intuition was speaking directly to me. And I just knew, that's it. Okay, I've got my answer.
I love that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you share about that coming to that place of finally giving yourself permission to consider your needs, to open up whatever possibility, and then listen intently, honestly, sincerely? Like you said, you went on that walk and you asked yourself, what do you want? Like, what was that like? How hard was that to get to that point? I mean, you're on the benefit of being on the other side, knowing the beautiful peace that just settled in.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about before? Because I know lots that are listening, you're like, oh, how
do we get to that? How do you get to that place?
I want that.
Yeah, I think there was so much turmoil that I just felt internally during this time of what's the right answer here. I wanted there to be a right answer, and I wanted to know what it was, and it just hurt not knowing. It hurt. There was like pain and anger and sadness and grief and all of the things that you would expect to accompany that decision. And I had been reading a lot of books at the time, not even self-help books. I was reading like The Grapes of Wrath. I had never read that book before by John Steinbeck. And, reading things and kind of just opening my eyes to new ways of thinking and new ideas in ways that I had never done before. I was very closed off before, I think, to anything that was outside of the sphere of what I had been told and what I'd been taught. Even though I had left the church many years before, there was still like a wall of, this is just what you do. And this is, you don't have a voice. You just believe what everybody tells you. And then you just keep that in your head, right? I think that wall was slowly starting to degrade for me. And, again, I had mentioned that I was going on a lot of walks and being out in nature. And I think I was just in those moments, I was allowing myself to be more open to what it was that I needed. And I'm not sure if there was any conscious choice of, okay, you're going to give yourself permission now to ask and receive. I don't know if it was like that conscious in the moment. I can definitely look back with 20/20 hindsight and go, yeah, that was the moment where I did give myself permission to ask and then receive, be open to whatever was being said, right, in my brain and my body. But I think it was just a culmination of being willing to just be curious about things. Rather than super judgmental, super unwilling to look outside of the box, super unwilling to believe there might be a different answer than what I've been told my whole life, which was divorce isn't an option. You just don't do it. It doesn't matter how unhappy you are. Right. And I was unhappy. And I think there was maybe a part of me that was like, I don't want that to be my answer, which is perhaps why I was spinning so much.
Yeah.
Because I could have just said, I'll just stay married.
Yeah.
But I never would settle on that, right?
Right. It's a big deal to choose ourselves
Yeah.
just because we want to,
Yeah.
because it's something we feel, something like we're genuinely, I'm saying we, the collective we.
Right.
But I'm speaking to your experience, for which I thank you deeply for sharing. It takes courage to choose something that is maybe outside of expectations, beliefs. They become very deeply ingrained, like you talked about. You were looping for quite some time. Part of those ingrained beliefs, that looping that happens, usually doesn't include choosing ourselves just for the purpose of choosing ourselves, period.
Yeah.
Because it's a desire, it's a want. Maybe we even see it as a need. Because like you said, you were told, or the belief you felt inside, you heard inside was this is just the way it is.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other moments where you were presented with opportunities to wiggle some of those beliefs looser about this is just the way it is? I'm told, this is how I'm told to be, and so on. And you stepped into a place of reclaiming your autonomy, of giving yourself permission to just ask and then be open to receiving whatever possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had, that I think was like the ultimate noticing of asking and allowing, giving myself permission to just let it be, whatever it was. And I've definitely had many, many more since then. I had an experience just a couple of months ago with myself where it was very clear to me. And it wasn't even, as big of a decision as divorce is. It was actually kind of a silly decision, but I'd like to share it just because I think
I don't think there's
maybe-
any silly. It's all,
Yeah.
if it's meaningful and important to us,
Yeah.
it's valid.
Yeah. So I had decided that I was gonna go to a protest in the city that I live near. I live in Utah, so it was gonna be in Salt Lake City, and
Okay.
it was an important thing for me. I had never been to a protest, but it was something that I really wanted to do. It felt important to me, so I decided I'm going. Asked all of the people around me, does anybody want to come with me? Nobody wanted to come or couldn't come, any of those things. And so I was like, okay. And I was starting to get very nervous. And then I started to kind of, again, second guess myself and say, it's too scary. Scary things might happen. There could be, antagonistic people there, or you don't really know what to expect sometimes, even if it's a peaceful protest. And so the next day woke up and said, I'm actually not going to go. I've changed my mind. I'm not going to go. I'm just, and I was real with myself. I was like, I'm pretty scared, and I think I'm just not going to go. And telling all of the people that I had previously told I was going to the protest. And the protest was about 2 days from that time. And I went to sleep that night, and I just couldn't sleep, tossed and turned, thought about it in my head a lot. I felt that same pull of which way, what's the right answer here? Why am I still thinking about this? Why can't I just decide? And I woke up the next morning, and I really just gave myself some space, meaning I sat in this chair. This is my office, and I spend a lot of time in my office. So I just sat in my chair where I feel very safe and comfortable. And I just got still and quiet and said, in the same way that I did when I was asking that question about, do I want to stay married or not? What do I want? And then I just listened and let my body and my brain answer for me. And the answer was, I really want to go to the protest. It's important to me. And so again, I felt the immediate peace come over me, and I was like, okay, that's my answer. Did I still have fear? Yes, of course. I still was kind of scared, but I knew that I wasn't going to let that fear be the deciding factor for me, because if I let that fear decide for me, it would keep me from doing something that I truly felt was an intuitive yes for me. This was something that like aligned with me and my North Star and the kind of person that I am and want to be. And so I went to the protest and everything was great. And I was so happy that I went and felt supportive of my community. And I felt in line with who I am and the person that I am continuing to become.
I caught that you said, I let my brain and my body
Yeah.
answer for me. And the response you heard was, I actually do want to go to this protest.
Yeah.
That is a connection that I think has been lost or misunderstood, or that we are now learning more information about. I have been studying more and practicing more using that mind, heart, body, soul connection.
Yeah.
It's so important to increase awareness around all those elements of our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual existence. They're all connected, and there's deeper knowledge and wisdom and meaning to be gained when we learn to drop into our body and not stay up here spinning in our head quite so much. Yeah. I love that you brought that up, because I think sometimes the temptation or the tendency, not temptation, the tendency is to believe that we are our thoughts.
Yeah.
Or that we are our feelings.
Yeah.
We're the ones experiencing them.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
And there's information there for us. There's messages there for us. And what we do with it, that's what really, matters. That's what really can, as they say, push the needle a little bit more.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more kind of about where you've evolved to and kind of what you're experiencing now.
Yeah.
I have found that not only seeking moments of bliss, but experiencing these moments of bliss after one takes the reins of their spiritual faith journey, awakening, however you call it, versus focusing just on the pain points. Of course, they play a role. That's where a lot of learning and stretching and growth occurs. But there's so much joy to be had kind of on the other side of stepping into all of that uncertainty and that unknown and claiming that spiritual autonomy, that self-differentiation, that spiritual sovereignty. So I would love to hear more about that part of your journey. How and where have you found new joy or new life, rebirth, we could say, in your journey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had all of the grief that I kind of saved up from when I left the church. And then the grief of, asking to end my 20-year marriage. And so as I learned to process through and let go of that grief, and as I learned to listen to myself and believe that I had opinions and thoughts and ideas that mattered, that I never really knew about or agreed with before, that I never really gave myself space to have and feel and think and decide for myself. That's where kind of that joy came in for me. Is I realized I'm an individual. I don't know that I ever that wasn't a realization for me before that. I was just one of the people, who goes in line with all the things and says the right things and, would change my opinion based on the group that I was in because that's what they were all saying. And so I would say the same thing because I wanted to be accepted by the group, right? That was scary for me to have a voice that was my own. And so being able to find joy and self-connection through having a voice and figuring out what that voice was and figuring out what are my opinions? What do I like? What do I not like? Which groups do I want to stay a part of? Do I agree with everything they agree with? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's okay if I do or I don't. Maybe it's okay to not be friends with these people anymore because I don't have to pretend or people please to, stay friends with them or whatever. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's where the joy actually is, where I can actually be myself for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, that self-differentiation piece is key. It's absolutely key.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, there's so much joy and learning and living to be had when we can truly claim our autonomy in all the ways.
Absolutely.
So share with us, kind of tie it back now to your work currently as do you call yourself a life coach? Tell us more about that. Tie all this into your work currently.
Yeah. So I am a coach. I don't typically use the word life coach, but I
Okay.
guess technically I am a life coach. I'm a divorce coach. So basically I coach other women who are going through either a divorce right now or they are already divorced. And they are trying to reconnect to themselves in ways that they either haven't in a very long time or ever have been.
Okay.
To me, it was such a huge turning point in my life and such an amazing thing to reconnect my brain, my body, and my intuition, something that I had never experienced until that pivotal moment. And I've experienced it many times since. That I just know that every woman needs to have that in their life. Not because I think that they need to know what I think they should be doing, but so that they can decide for themselves what is best and right for them. Because I think when you're able to do that in your own life, that leads you to your joy. That leads you to your bliss. That leads you
Absolutely.
in the direction that you were meant to be headed.
Right. Right. I'm so grateful you had that experience. And I know that you're able to walk side by side with your clients and help them experience that same thing in their lives. We'll make sure and leave your website or whatever other information that you would like to leave so folks can connect with you who feel your services align with their needs.
Great. Love it.
My last question for you, though, I ask all of my guests, and that is, what does living beyond the shadow of doubt mean to you now?
Yeah. So you had sent this question beforehand, and I've been thinking about it because I think it's a really kind of interesting question. And I think for me, it really is connecting with your own intuition and what that is for you. So living beyond the shadow of the doubt, to me is like, it's different for me than it is for you, than it is for the person over there or the person over there that's listening to this podcast, right? It's so personal and unique and individual because all of our intuition is unique and individual to us based off of our individuality, based off of the experiences that we've had, based off of whatever spirituality we are encompassing in our lives and the direction. I don't really know what intuition is, if it takes some kind of shape or form within us, but it is like the all-knowing being for us as individuals. And I think really connecting to that is what takes us beyond that shadow of doubt. And I think every person, women especially, because I think women are conditioned to not trust our intuition, but I think every person, because men have it too, need to connect to that, to live the life they were meant to live.
I love that. I think you said, I think the intuition is this all-knowing, you either said being or energy of some kind within us.
Something. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautifully said. I agree. Everything is some type of energy, some type of vibration. That's
Yeah.
what connects us to all other beings and living things and energies on the earth.
Sorry, my cat is meowing. I don't know if you can hear that.
So really quickly, I'm going to throw out some for fun questions for you, for our guests to get to know you.
Okay.
Tell us your favorite book.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Got a meowing cat. Let's see. Oh, wow. Favorite book. I don't know if I
Or
have
a
one.
favorite book. Just the one you've read most recently, maybe.
So I've been reading this series that my daughter told me about. I know these are probably supposed to be fast questions, but it's the Throne of Glass series by, I think, Sarah Moss is her name. And they're just adventure and fun. And the heroine is a woman and she's strong and tough and amazing. And they're fun. I love them.
Sounds like an awesome adventure.
Yeah.
Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert?
I am an introvert and sometimes a little bit of an extrovert, but I do like to I'm a homebody. I like to be home in my space, and a lot of people, it's definitely draining. So introvert.
Awesome. Tell us your favorite artist.
Taylor Swift. I mean, I'm wearing her shirt.
No
Like, come on.
hesitation.
I
love
love
it.
her. She's the best.
Would you consider yourself a night owl or a morning lark?
Morning.
Nice.
I'm in bed by 8 o'clock every night. Morning.
And tell us your celebrity crush, if you have one.
Oh gosh. I would say years ago it was Idris Elba. I mean, come on, how do you not love him? But that's faded a little. I don't know if I have one right now.
Okay,
But maybe
that's
5 years
fair.
ago, it was Idris Elba.
Totally fair. Do you do still or carbonated water or diet soda or some other fun beverage?
I love a good blended frozen coffee. I do like water too, and I'll drink bubbly or regular still water, but I love a good blended coffee.
Great.
It's my favorite.
And then finally, the furthest place that you've traveled.
Furthest place. It was a long time ago, and I'd love to go back, but it was Spain, and it was amazing.
I have
loved
been able
it.
to go once. It is fun.
Yeah.
Do you speak Spanish?
No.
That's okay.
I
Still,
wish.
still completely fun. Karin, it's been a pleasure. I thank you again so much for your time in coming to chat with me today. I've loved reconnecting and hearing how you're doing. Your work is so important, and I'm grateful that you are there to support others that are going through what you went through and helping them, being with them along the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a great time. It's nice to catch up with you too.
Absolutely.
Writer, teacher, author, Mormon scholar, and founder of Dialogue Journal, Eugene England said, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue." As a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, my hope is that Living Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast is an extension of that vision.
Hopeful Spaces is a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. It's a free monthly parent, ally, or caregiver support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. Email chc@dallashopecharities.org for more info. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more, or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.